Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel, and that is the R in the RK Stumbling Bear. I am a reader and a writer. Welcome back to my week 21 wrap-up. As someone who has a hard time following through with things, I am very excited that I have actually done 21 weeks of the wrap-up. I don't necessarily feel accomplished, but I am happy that I am being consistent about something. Jumping right into my reading wrap-up, I finished How Do You Live by Genzaburo Yoshino. This is a Japanese classic. I read this for the May of the Moderns, the other prompt, which is to read a translated book. Taylor over at Made Between the Pages is 100% right about this book. She's the one who talked about this and made me interested in reading it, and this is like a new favorite. I want to own it and annotate it. This is a kind of a slice of life book. It's following a 13, 14-year-old boy as he is starting to realize that the world is bigger than just himself. Anybody who works with children or has children, you know that children are pretty egotistical. And at one point, they eventually start looking out beyond themselves. So this is as he is starting that process. It's different moments where he sees something, he has this idea, and now he shares his ideas with his uncle. He's very close to his uncle. His dad died a couple of years ago, and so his uncle's kind of stepped up to be that male figure for him in his life. So he's very comfortable talking to his uncle, like, hey, I have this idea. And we will follow the narrative of following Copper, that is his nickname, as he's going about learning these different things. And then it will be intercut by selections from his uncle's writing in a notebook, expanding upon the ideas that they've talked about, and then just talking about his hopes that Copper will become a great man, and what does that actually mean? I didn't know this while reading it, but the purpose of writing this book was supposed to be kind of like an ethics guide for young men in Japan. And instead of doing a textbook, they decided to do more of a narrative structure. So that's what we have here. There are so many poignant moments in this book as Copper is making friends and becoming more aware of not all of his friends have the same situation in life that he does. Deals with friendship in so many different levels at the same time as having relationships with your family members. So there's one part in the book that Copper is having an anguish of feelings over something that he didn't do. And his uncle, after sharing this with his uncle talks to him about, or he shares this with his uncle, and his uncle advises him, but then goes back and writes in his notebook about pain. And I'm going to share this. Sorry, this might be a little bit long reading-wise, but it really hit home on a lot of things. So again, he's talking about pain. You could say that when we feel pain, the pain is telling us that conditions are not normal in our bodies. If we didn't feel any pain at all, even when something went wrong, we might not realize it, and depending on the circumstances, that might cost us our lives. In fact, even in the case of a bad tooth, if there's no pain, the treatment is more likely to be delayed, while the cavity quickly grows than if it hurts. So although there's no doubt that everyone wants to avoid physical pain, in this sense, it's something that we should be grateful for, something we need. Because of it, we know that a failure has occurred inside of us, and at the same time, we also come to know exactly what the natural state of the human body should be. In the same way, when a person is living in a way that's not normal for a human being, suffering and hardships of the heart let us know that. So then, thanks to that pain and suffering, we can clearly grasp what a human being should naturally be. And that's just a little bit. I guess one of the reasons why I am just adoring this book is a lot of what is talked about I see a lot of representation from my own life, but also a lot of it ties into the gospel. I am religious. But the people in this book are not the same religion I am. So for me, then it means like this is just normal humanness, human decency. And I love this. Like, this is just basically, gosh, like I said, this is one of my new favorite books. And I think everyone should read it. So thank you, Taylor, for talking about it on your channel so that I could pick it up. And then, did I read any more of The Unbroken? A little bit. But How Do You Live just kind of stole the focus, and that's all I was reading pretty much. But I did make some progress in this, and my hope is this weekend to finish this book. It's a 3-day weekend, so now for June, I decided I really didn't want to do any readathons, and then I found a readathon I was interested in. But I've decided instead of doing a TBR at the beginning of the month, that I'm going to mood read my way through this readathon. So the readathon is called the Desertathon, and I heard about it on Eric's channel over at Break Even Books. You know, the idea is to follow prompts based off of recipes, and you get to choose what team you're on. So I chose to be on the Celestial Cupcakes, which is Eric's team, and the genre for that team is sci-fi and dystopian. It doesn't mean that's the only thing you can read to complete the prompts, it's just that is you get extra points for reading books in those genres when you're doing the recipe. So I'm going to put up a graphic of what our recipe is. It is a chocolate cupcake, and I'm just going to go over what the prompts are just for fun. And I'll link Eric's announcement video down below, so that if you're interested, you can go and you can see more about the readathon. But the ingredients that we need for this recipe is cocoa powder, which in this case it is unsweetened. And you have the option of reading a nonfiction, a classic, or a serious toned book. Flour, back to the basics or a favorite genre. Salt, which is salty or a tearjerker. Milk, substitutes, white cover or not original cover. Eggs in a dozen, part of a series. Vanilla, standard flavor, book you keep saying you'll read, which there are several of those. And then sugar, sweet, feel-good book. And what I'm talking about, I'm probably going to mood read my way through it, is taking the example of the milk substitutes for the white cover. I have 2 options that are already on my shelf, and either one, I want to read both books, but the question is, will I be in the mood to do so? And the first one of those is the Kaiju Preservation Society. It's a mostly white cover, so I'm counting it. And this is really popular, so probably after The Unbroken, I'd want to pick this up because I only have 2 weeks to read it. I won't be able to extend my time with the library. But if I've read this before June for some reason, because I forgot to say that this Desertathon is June 1st through June 30th, another option would be Machine Hood, which is a mostly white cover or tones of white. So, but I don't know what I'm going to read for this prompt. We'll just find out together. For my writing wrap-up, I am just jumping around on my projects is what it seems to be, which is okay because I'm still in my sad depression state. So jumping projects means I'm doing something. Even if I'm not just working on one, progressing it, I'm still doing something. I had a conversation with my sister about it was originally a short story, but I'm wanting to expand it. And I call it the Diana story. That's just one of the characters. I'm really bad at titling, so most things are just named after the main character point of view. And so she gave me a lot of good advice. She has a English degree and a screenwriting degree and just has read all these stories, science fiction, fantasy, just like I did growing up. So I love hearing her points of view on things. And I actually have recorded that as part of another video, so that will be coming in the future if you want to watch the hour-long conversation. I also worked on, so this is one where it's not named after the main character because there's multiple characters, and I just call it the music story because my idea, how I found my characters, was pieces of music. I've been struggling of how to write a character. They are having a mental break from reality, and I was trying to think of how is a good way to write that so that you realize that they're reliving things from their past, but at the same time you're going to get scenes where it's their present, but they're the only character that it will be like that. Everybody else will be kind of like going forward. And so I'm looking to trying to figure out how to balance that. And I'm thinking of maybe doing it in a different POV to make it obvious that something's different. I don't know. I'm still working on it. Still very much in the concept before zero drafting stage. So that is what I've worked on writing-wise. Other media. I have watched a lot more of the MTV The Challenge series and loving it. I am currently on the Dirty 30 series. And it's just fun to watch people, it's fun to watch the game drama. So in this one, they had a lot because they had a redemption house as well, which means when you get kicked off or you lose an elimination, you then go to this other house where then you can have the chance to come back. And so the game drama is what I like, not the personal drama. They had some people get drunk or say insensitive things and do stupid things. And then everyone else got very, I'm going to say self-righteous because their behavior wasn't any better, but they didn't go that one step further. So then they're all like, well, you're an asshole and you're this. And I'm just like, let's skip this. Just fast forward. Let's get to the game stuff. And it was fun to see some of the challenges that they had to do. They brought back a lot of the older challenges that I remember from early seasons, and that was a lot of fun to watch. Especially watching the older competitors go, oh shit, I remember this one. My husband and I also watched the Halo TV show on Paramount Plus. We also watched the Halo TV show. We waited until it was all the way out so we could binge watch it. And we watched it, I think, in 2 days. And I love it. So I did not grow up playing Halo. Again, I didn't start playing video games until I was an adult, and I'm still on the old style games. But I've watched people play Halo. So watching this TV show, I saw a lot of Easter eggs from the different Halo games that I've seen. And I've only seen clips here or there. I scared my husband at one point because they talked about waves of enemies coming, and I'm just like, it's horde mode! Again, I haven't played this. I've just watched other people play it. But I made him jump because he was not expecting me to yell in the middle of the episode. But it was just a lot of fun. I'm interested to see where they're going to go for a second season because it's obviously set up that way. I think this was a good So as a non-player of Halo, I think this was a good adaptation of the game into a narrative story that more people can experience. And I think it's a really good sci-fi story as well. I think all the elements with the cinematography, the costumes, and the acting really worked for it, really worked together. And I think the story was consistent so that characters did not break who they were for the sake of the plot. And everything moved forward and is continuing to move forward to this in the same direction. So that was excellent. That was my week 21. How was yours? Have you read any new favorite books recently? If so, please let me know down below so I can add them to my list. Thank you and have a great day.